Hi, everyone. Welcome to UCTV, show, entertainment, and television. More than you need to know, and especially in this time for the coronavirus and COVID 19. I'm your host, Samantha Letois, and I want to say thank you all for connecting and follow us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 4 p.m. here on Facebook Live fan page by Unity Coalition and 5 p.m. on Instagram and YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about Native American story, Cypress land, and a sporting mascot, and national monuments. And I have the pleasure just to have the guest and revenue, Houston Cypress, cultural preservation and environmental protection, other nation, and Garrett Stewart. Everybody call him Captain Planet, environmentalist and scientist, eco-preservation project. Today, UCTV Monday. Today's a Monday. I know you all being tired for the weekend. Happy 4th of July, late. Happy 4th of July for all of you. I hope you have an amazing weekend. And let me remind you that this week we have food distribution and caring for our community. Tenemos cuidado y queremos a nuestra comunidad. Free food and supply. Wednesday, July 8, 2020, 12 noon until everything just right now or until 2 p.m. Walk in and drive in, enter through the Miami Beach Community Church parking lot, accessible via Pennsylvania Avenue and Lincoln Road Lane. If you want to get some food, honey, you better save this day on your calendar. Wednesday, July 8, 2020 at Miami Beach Community Church. And we want to say thank you to all the sponsors that make this possible. Get your glue, stone, and feathers ready because we want you to be part of the global story. Create your max with material and recyclable material. Get your mask and create it, take a picture with it, and send them to unitycoalition.org so you can be a part of the global story creating for participation and the program for Unity Coalition. And there's most information if you want to be a part of this communication. Go and check it out our website, unitycoalition.org, o en español lo pueden conseguir como coaliciónunida.org. And remember, yesterday was a Sunday, but the last week we started Elevate Virtual Summer Camp. I'm your Campy Camp counselor with my super friend Kishai. We're gonna be hosting every Thursday, 7 p.m. interactives on Facebook because it's free and fabulous. Go ahead and check it out, unitycoalition.org for more information, o como dije en español, coaliciónunida.org. Para nuestra comunidad latina queremos decirle este miércoles, ya les recordamos, desde las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde va a haber repartición de comida y suplementos para que ustedes lo sepan. En el Miami Beach Community Church, desde las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde o hasta que todo se acabe. Así que vamos llegando rápido. Today we're going to talk more about everything that's happened around, but we cannot have this conversation without these amazing people. We're going to talk with Houston Cypress and Garrett Stewart about Native American and what's going on. Some symbols that maybe they want to remove or they have a different opinion. Hey, Houston, and hey, Garrett. Hi, guys, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being with us in UCTV today, Monday.
It's an honor to
What's
be
shaking?
with you. Hey, Garrett, good to see you. How's it going over there in Naples?
Maybe it's working, maybe it's not.
It's working. It's working perfectly.
Oh,
Working perfectly. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can see us, but we all can see you. We all can hear you. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you. So tell me, Garrett. Everybody called you Captain. What is that reason that everybody called you Captain Planet?
well, Captain Planet was an old cartoon in the 90s. I think it just turned off again.
You're good.
Yeah, no, everything is okay. You're good. Okay. In the meantime, that he's fixing this, Houston, thank you so
Let me,
much
let me, let
again.
me, let me tell you a little bit about my friend Garrett. The reason we call him Captain Planet is because like there was this amazing like environmental cartoon back like I don't know like 20 years ago. It was super inspiring, and so I think that like he lives up to that. He's the
Okay.
hero. He's the
Okay.
hero for the environment.
So
Oh,
he's the hero of the environment. So you all ladies, let me tell you, honey, if you want to get your own superhero, this is the daddy that you got to call for it. Okay, look for it.
Right, honey.
So Houston, tell me about what is going on with all of this and COVID-19 and what we have to talk today about what is going on with the native monuments.
I think it's about whose history is worth remembering. And so, like, we're all struggling, we're all trying our best to live a good life, to tell our stories, and also to reflect that in the public sphere. That's what the monuments are about. That's what the representation about. And so we gotta try our best to uplift our voices because there's other voices that are trying to erase us or forget about us. And so it's about celebrating life. And so, like, that sounds like good and happy, but there's a lot of challenges too. And we're going to get into that. But really, it's about remembering our history and celebrating it.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we want to let them know everybody that is remember and celebrating their life. But before to continue, I would like to ask you something, Houston. What is that cultural preservation? I want to you to take a little time and explain to the people what is the cultural preservation.
I come from the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida. That's my community. And my family is the Otter clan. And so when we talk about cultural preservation, I think it's about living a good life because we're talking about our stories, we're talking about our songs, we're talking about our artwork. And so all of this is about having a balanced life, talking about the circle of life. And so when we preserve our culture, like this is something that belongs to everybody in our community. This is what we celebrate and what we want to pass on to our children and the next generation. And for us, in terms of the indigenous community, it's all stories. We don't write things down. Like today, we do write things down, but in the past, it's all the stories. And so I guess it's also about listening deeply. So cultural preservation is about remembering our stories and passing it on to the children so they can have as good a life as we have had and as our ancestors have had.
Okay, that's amazing. And let me ask you something, Garrett. I know that you guys we was mentioned something about before I go live, we was talking about something about the two spirits or communication. I know that you know everything about this in native. Tell me about how do you
that
think
was great.
that is important for Native American story about the two spirits? Garrett, I don't know if you can hear me. I think that he cannot hear me, but in the meantime, let me.
Let me help him out.
Yes,
So like we have today we talk about two spirit people, right?
yes.
And so, like, what does two spirit mean? Basically, it's about gender diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Like here we have a nonprofit called Unity Coalition that advocates for LGBTQ, but like that kind of like has an undertone of like sexual orientation. But
Correct.
like there's more to life than that. We have our arts, we have our practices, we have the spirituality. And so when it comes to Two Spirit, it's about what is our role in the community? What is our gender role? What is our expression? What is our identity in the community? And so when we talk about Two Spirit, we're trying to remember that we have a diversity of gender because there's some communities, like some tribes, recognize four genders, five genders, or even more genders. We're talking about non binary people. And so these people, Two Spirit people, are the people that are the link between the physical and the spiritual, the emotional and the mental, that is about service. It's about duties and responsibilities, but really it's about gender diversity and accepting everybody for their magic and for their gifts.
That's amazing. That's very good. Garrett, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so what you can tell me about the two spirit? I know that you are Captain Planet, so
Oh, and then it
tell
cuts
me.
off.
No, we can hear you. That's okay. Go ahead. Okay, Houston. So tell me about now that we know about the two spirits, I know that is very important. You back. Okay, you back. You back. Okay. So don't worry. Just don't move from there. Tell me about a little bit, Gary. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So tell me about an addition about the two spirits. I know that you know more about this.
Well, in native culture, and I'm speaking particularly on behalf of Lakota Oyate, the Sioux Nation, that's something sacred. You know, when a man feels more like a woman or a woman feels more like a man, that's something sacred. So
Mhm.
maybe in their last life, for example, that man was a woman, and he's so in tune with that last life because connected to that spirit and that source, that that man chooses to be gay or chooses to be transgender. But that's something that's sacred, and that's something that you also see in science. You know, people want to tell me, well, oh, that's the devil's work. And well, I'll tell them about how raccoons can be gay or possums can be gay and how there's two spirited of everything. And, it's like how the devil's pretty busy if he's doing all of that.
Yes.
you know, um, but it's pretty wild because in different cultures, it's seen differently. Where in our culture, someone who is gay is actually held at a higher status in the society and the community than those who aren't. It's not something that that would like, oh, I'm gonna pretend I'm gay when I'm not, just to level up a couple feathers. Doesn't work like that, But it's something very, very, very sacred, and that's like Cypress, Mr. Houston was saying, that's something that is a role, no different than the Lakota have the role of a heyoka, a sacred clown. Like one makes people laugh and think, like, but the gay person, they make people think different. You know, I personally, um, well, I don't really even know what I am. I don't think I'm human, but I think the coolest compliment that I've ever got was from a little girl at a preschool, and she asked me if I was a woman, and I said, how many women do you know with big old beards and a deep voice? And she just looks at me sideways and says, but you have the heart of a woman. And I said, well, that's because my heart belongs to Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is a woman. So yeah, I look like a daddy, but I'm more like a mama, and she got that. But
I love that.
the,
Just to have
the
a daddy and mommy at the same time.
gay community can take that to a whole nother level that I can, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that that's something that should always be respected and something that should always remain sacred. And if we don't express our sides of things and our stories, then how are other people going to know how to feel? I mean, what I've talked to one of my gay friends down in Key West, and he told me how he was going to hell. And I thought he was joking. He said, "Man, I'm a gay black man from Georgia. Of course I'm going to hell." You know, I realized he completely 100% believed that until he had an hour-long conversation with me and how my culture thought. And I said, man, that think about it, dude. That's not even really your culture that has you thinking you're going to go to hell. And he finally realized, there are other stories out there, and it's not just a black and white thing. That's why it's that rainbow flag, it's a thing of color. That flag actually comes from hometown in Kansas. Woo.
Guys,
And
I
what,
would like to ask you something. We're gonna play some.
though,
Yes,
I'm
um,
not even
it,
sure if I'm
it
on here
also
if I'm talking to
yes,
it
myself.
also
you're
At this
here.
reminds me
point.
that it also reminds me that we have a different understanding of community, a different understanding of family, because in Western society it's very individualistic, but for tribes it's very community and communal. So we understand that everybody has a gift, everybody has a contribution, and so this is about accepting and making a place for everybody. And so, Two Spirit people have a role, they have medicine, they have contributions. And so, this is about embracing all of our families instead of turning them away. You know what I mean? So, that's also another aspect of it. So, what are we giving to the community? And Two Spirit people give so much to the community. They have healing, they have joy, they have arts and crafts, and so much more. But it really is about keeping the collective together because today's world wants to take us apart.
Hmm.
Let me ask you something. I probably some of the people like me that we are Latino, we are very interesting just to know more about the natives and trees about here in the U.S. Tell me how many. I don't know how to ask you this, but here in Florida, how many tribes of the Native American are?
Okay, so today we have three communities. We have the Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida. That's my home. We have the Seminole tribe of Florida. Those are like our cousins.
Okay.
And we get political and spiritual. There's another community that's very independent, and that's the Council of the Original Miccosukee Seminole Nation of Aboriginal Peoples. And they're like our spiritual leaders. In the past, there used to be so many more Indian tribes, but we have had a difficult history, and this is who we have today. So today we have three communities here in Florida.
We're gonna play some graphic, and I want you to guys give me your personal opinion about this graphics. So, what's your thought about it? Let's say that one of the graphics says that today Native American account just for 1.5% of the population, and much of their story have been lost. What do you guys think about it? Let's start with Houston.
I think that we have to remember that history has not been lost. We still have it, but are we willing to share it? You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
do the people want to be the friends of the Indians? Are they reaching out? So I look at this map and I see indigenous communities all across the land. A map is a very political project. And so we're looking at languages, we're looking at land, and we're looking at relationships. And so today, people want to draw lines on a piece of paper and act like that's reality. But I think that what is in our hearts is more real. And so history is not lost. As long as the people are living and dancing and singing, it's still vibrant.
Hmm.
So, Mr. Hero Planet, what do you think about it?
I think that if fathers don't teach their sons how to make drums and play them, then the rest of the world won't know what it's time to dance, you know?
Absolutely. Yes,
um,
it's really
Culture is
true.
being shared more now than I think it ever has. I'm not sure if it kicked me back off yet or not,
No, we can hear you.
but
You're still
I
there.
was
You're
having
still
a
there.
conversation with a relative of Houston's in the Miccosukee tribe, and asked me about alligator, and I said, "What's the Lakota word for alligator?" I said, "There is none." So we're learning about each other more often now.
That's very good. That's awesome. And also that's a good way how we can share culture and community because I know that most of the time Latinos, obviously we came from a native and a tree also too, but as you said, is how we can share this story with new generation. It's how you feel proud of yourself coming from a background from from something that make you feel so very good that you want to move forward and extend that, because you want that your community feel proud where you're coming from. It's just like something that you got in the blood. But guys,
And,
let me
and,
ask
and
you something about
let me
yeah.
ask you, Samantha. Like, tell me more about your identities. Like, what is your cultural background? Tell me more about that because I think that you have a lot of magic within you. What is your cultural backgrounds?
Well, yes, thank you. Thank you. Let me share this with you a little bit, guys, because you are my favorite right now. But let me share this so you know more about it. I'm from Colombia. I'm from Barranquilla, which is a very, very Caribbean city. Um, I think that for my last name in my family, I have some maybe African background on my family, a little bit of blood and African, an Indian. I'm not pretty sure what kind of, but for my last name, it came from French. This culture is been in Colombia for long time ago. But as I said, it's when it is when you feel proud of yourself and your background for your family and everything, that you just contribute to continue working and building that community. Most of the time, with the new generation, we don't feel so much proud what we came from, because now, millennials and technology, we just want to, before, on the past, we didn't use cell phone, we didn't have any communication and technology. As we was talking with Mr. Safe Planet, and we said like, oh no, before that, I didn't know how to use my phone, I didn't have this. And I remember long time ago that when, the first time, like, I had saw like a device, a cell phone on me, it was just like a huge block with a whole antenna, and it was totally different. So when you want to keep that culture with you, is it doesn't matter if you get out of your country, you just keep that culture with you, and it goes everywhere you go. So
Mhm.
that it is. I
Yeah,
think that I
and
have
most.
a little bit of Brazilian too, so but that's good. Guys, let me show you this graphic right here, the Mount Rushmore. Before the construction circa in 1905, South Dakota. What you guys think about it?
Did you ask me something that cut me back off again? I've seen a picture of the six grandfathers there,
Yes,
and hopefully this won't kick me back off. I apologize. My phones must be acting up. But
that's
that's a very, very, very sacred mountain to the Lakota nations, and it's called Six Grandfathers because of the six of the seven directions. You
mhm.
have west, north, east, south, above, and below, and that seventh direction is within. But this is named the Six Grandfathers. A holy man had named it once back, but that's why it's always been bad blood with Mount Rushmore, as it's known now. One, the artist has ties with the Ku Klux Klan, and two, that's on stolen lands. And when some people hear stolen lands, it's like, well, all land stolen from the Indian, and no, this is legally stolen land. This is land where in two separate treaties, it gives the Great Sioux Nation um, undisturbed rights to that land, in use of that land, which included all the Black Hills. Again in the Fort Laramie Treaty, which we called the Greasy Grass Treaty. Now, the government back in 2017 offered the Sioux Nation $1.3 billion for the Black Hills, and their response to that was the Black Hills are not for sale. But I bring that up simply because why would the United States government offer the Lakota Nation $1.3 billion if it didn't owe them something? Where even the government recognizes that they did wrong. It wasn't but a year after Custer was killed at the Battle of Little Bighorn, and then gold was also discovered. So whether it was um, retaliation for Little Bighorn, or whether it was the gold, regardless, the lands were seized. I don't know if I'm still on, am I?
Yes, you're
Yeah,
still here. We can hear you.
Wow. But yeah, that's when the lands were seized. They found gold, and plus, I think part of it had to do with retaliation of Little Bighorn, because that was a pretty big embarrassment to the United States. So one way or another, the lands got seized, and the tribes still don't have that land back. There's another very sacred mountain called Bear Butte. It's where a lot of the Sioux Nation goes to get its visions in a ceremony that they call Humblecha, means to cry for a vision. And the government's always been kind of doing some fishy things, like they were giving up Bear Butte to make a 600-acre biker rally bar for the town of Sturgis. Like all these hills, and why do you got to carve faces on this particular hill in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
Spit in the face. And that I see the graphic of Stone Mountain. It's that same artist that did Stone Mountain is who did the Mount Rushmore.
Houston.
Yeah, and when I look at that desecration of the sacred place, like this is a place that's very special to people. But then you have newcomers. Some people want to call them colonizers. Some people want to call them Europeans, and some people want to call them Americans. And so what's happening is that they're trying to replace the people that were there. And so this project of America literally changes the land and changes the history. And so I look at that and I see like a tragedy. It's it covers up so much and it prevents so much as well. So I think it's something that we really need to talk about and really need to look at. And it goes back to what are the histories that we want to remember and what is the history that's worth remembering and who's the one that tells us that it's worth it. Who's the boss? Who's the judge? You know what I mean? Because somebody's coming in and saying, I'm the boss, I'm the judge, I'm going to put this face up there. And so I think that it's also a little bit of like disrespect as well. So
Absolutely.
it's really about like remembering who's here and honoring the people.
You got
I
all the
agree.
rights, and I think that most of the people we sometimes we do not recognize that we are part of it, or we want to hide, or because we are
I can.
probably like those things fit into it, even though we our blood it came from a community and a tree. Sometimes we don't feel like we are part of it. Um, Houston, do you think that it's important just to keep symbols of treat indigenous into games, sports?
Oh, I think you're talking about the sports mascots, no?
Yes.
You know, that's a very, it depends where you stand. Because for a lot of people, it's a very simple decision to say that when we have like, what is it, the Cleveland Indians or the
Mm-hmm.
Washington Redskins,
Yeah, Cleveland Indians, Chicago Blackhawks, and Washington Redskins, and Florida State Seminole.
for some people, it's very simple to say that it could be a way of like caricature, like a cartoon of the people. Like, back in like Nazi Germany, they had caricatures and cartoons of people that were like dehumanizing the Jewish people, our Jewish friends and our Jewish family. So some people can look at that and see a very similar reflection in these sports mascots. But it becomes very complicated because we also have to respect the indigenous people too. And so you have the community of the Seminole tribe of Florida who has authorized and approved the Florida State Seminole representation. And that comes with like the self determination. Like if somebody says, this is okay with me, are you going to respect that? You know what I mean? Are you going to try to change their mind? And I think that that's what's going on with the Seminole people. It's okay with them. They have a good relationship with the Florida State University. In my community, we have an example with University of Miami. At University of Miami, they have an honor society called Iron Arrow, and this was the result of a relationship that they had with Miccosukee people a long time ago. But over time, they developed practices that some people didn't agree with. So, like, when are we going to respect the people and when are we going to criticize the people? And that's a fine line that can be very tricky to walk.
Garrett, any thought about it?
Yeah, I always just laughed and said it. Indians were badass, and there were so many sports teams.
Okay, in the meantime that Garrett is fixing this, Houston, let's continue with the next graphic. Land of Akis. Oh, you back.
Yeah,
Finally.
weird.
Okay, yeah, we want to hear your thought about what Houston just said, the mascot for the sports team.
Yeah, I was just laughing. I've always said that Indians weren't so badass, and there were so many sports teams about it. even up on the reses in South Dakota and stuff, some of the Sioux schools, they're not named the Celtics. They're named, different Indian names, So, I mean, I think some are offensive, and I think some is just it doesn't bother me. But if you guys have noticed, I have a beard, you know, I look Scottish. It's because I'm mostly Scottish, So, I mean, I personally don't get offended, but I've also noticed that a lot of my full blooded elders that I grew up with always laughed about it too. They never appreciate Washington Redskins because Redskin is a derogatory word towards Native Americans, and the government of the United States team was called the Redskin, kind of a spit in the face. But as far as other ones, I'm from Kansas, so you got the Kansas City Chief. When you see that little ginger dressed up in a dress, war paint on, look at him. He looks like a warrior, and he thinks, dude, ah. So, to me, it's like let him feel awesome for a day. I guess I don't know. Like I don't get in that fight personally because the people that I grew up with didn't have really much of an opinion about it. So but I also have Native friends that have very different opinions about that and find it very, very insulting. So just depends who you are.
Okay, so the next graphic is this one, the borderland of lake. What you guys think about it? They already have like an Indian woman, but now they just remove it.
Yeah.
Houston,
What do you think, Garrett?
I mean, it's a Native art that drew it. Do they know that? I hope they don't make it where Houston can't draw a picture of himself.
mhm.
Yeah, I think your audio kind of got cut off, Garrett. But I think what you were saying is that it was a native person that created the artwork.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
and so,
yeah.
but that was like Garrett said, it was a native artist that created it, and the native artist knew what he was doing. He was very talented, and he wanted to show the beauty of his culture. So he
Mm-hmm.
had the special designs, and that place on the picture with the water and the trees is a real place. It's a real place. So he's showing like the best things of his culture.
Mm-hmm.
But like removing the woman, I think it's also like what we dealing with in America.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the Indian, but keep the land.
But can I add to that?
Sure.
Yes.
I truly I don't believe it. Like I truly believe that's a sign of respect, really. You know, um that's how I see it. Like yeah, it's a native artist and all this, but to me, I guess trying to be on the right side of things is the only reason why Land O'Lakes would take the Indian off the butter, right? Is I think they did it to be respectful. You know, um, for example, as a marine biologist, I talk about the Jewfish a lot, and occasionally a Jewish person will be like, "It's called the Goliath grouper for." They we renamed it because it's offensive calling the fish a Jewfish. But if you know the story of the Jewfish, it was named after the Jews to honor them, not to bully them. But we lose our stories. And I think we lost the story about that pretty little lady on that butter package for so long that they took it off as a sign of respect. I'm not trying to take away a Confederate lineage Southerners, rights with that Confederate flag. But I mean, I suggested, hey, with all this shit happening in my country right now, you'd be pretty cool to lower it because there's a time for heritage and then there's a time not to be an asshole. And I think we're living in that time where it's a time not to be an asshole. And I truly think they took the off the butter package to just try their best and not be an asshole. Not some subliminal like, yeah, get your land, but got rid of the Indian. I mean, it's a pretty good joke and a pretty good meme, but why would they do that? Like, unless, that's some really bad PR, like picking on an Indian 2020. What do you think?
But let me tell you, I think I'm going to stop eating butter because that's the only butter I bought because of the Indian. So I
Yeah.
think I gave up butter.
All that butter, it's going straight to my hips, man.
Okay, guys, so let me ask you something. How do you guys feel about everything that is happening? And you guys think that here, especially in Florida, most of the natives American, they have a huge participation in taking decision for the community?
Are you talking about like local issues?
um, Probably can be a local issue, but just to getting involved into the community, I know that they're very close into they have to be for protecting and culture, but what about their participation into the rest of the world?
Oh, like what it like our participation in global society. What do you think, Garrett?
Let's say in participation. Let's put it in a local. Let's put it in a local. What do you think about the local issue that's happening right now?
The lockout. What?
Local issues that probably some of the community Native American that we have here in Florida.
I think that natives are pretty involved on local issues. Um, and with all due respect, I don't think as a whole they're very involved on world issues. You're talking about a people who's it's just in their DNA to mind their own business and stay in their lane. So I mean, it's kind of one of those you don't show up somewhere, at a NEPI ceremony and everyone's talking about slavery in Africa or something, for example, but you might hear some talk about the Black Lives Matter, because what's the difference, right? So I don't know. Like sometimes it kind of depends on the issue. You don't see a whole lot of voicing about worldwide issues, but there's also zero hesitation to try to get the whole world to listen when it's one of the local issues it needs help with. So I think that it just depends on the individual, really. But my perspective from the natives that I grew up around as a whole, I don't think that we're very involved in worldwide issues at all, but we are heavily involved in local issues.
Garrett, like Samantha, let me tell you about how I met Garrett.
Okay.
And it also has to do with the inspiration that comes from Black Lives Matter. Because we're looking at the situation of Black Lives Matter. It's about people standing up for their communities and fighting for justice. And that's how I met Garrett. There was a situation that Big Cypress National Preserve is called today. Big Cypress Forest was in trouble. And so we have relied on the leadership of elders like Miss Betty Osceola from the Panther Clan and a lot of other people that inspired us to stand up for the land, walk for the land, and listen for the land. And so I think that that's kind of like what Black Lives Matter is doing. They're standing up for themselves, for their communities, and we can learn a lot from them, and we do learn a lot from them. But that's how I met Garrett. Like, we were really concerned about the land, but we approached it from a spiritual perspective. And so people talk about direct actions. People are complaining about the destruction of property and the protesting. That could be an expression of direct action. But what we were doing with Garrett and Miss Betty Osceola and others and all of our friends and family was doing the direct action in a spiritual perspective. And so that's how I met Garrett. We were walking to protect the land. And so I hope that people can come and listen deeply to what the land has to say, because the land is our biggest teacher. Like if we could just quiet ourselves, quiet our minds, and really listen to what Mother Earth is saying, then we can really make a lot of progress in a lot of issues. So I think we have a lot to learn from Black Lives Matter, and we also have a lot to learn from the land itself.
Mm, couldn't agree more.
Guys, let me ask you something important from, I think that from a different perspective, how we, other community, collaborate to protect the land.
Captain Planet, what do you think?
I think that he got their answer for that, but
What can people do to protect the land? You
other
know, like
community, like most of the time, like probably we are not Latin, Native American, indigenous, but we are from others community and background, how we can help to protect the land, the
You
way
got
my
that you
sister,
guys are doing it.
first.
my sister, come on out. That's the best. That's the first thing you can do, and that's the best thing you can do. Come on out, talk to the trees. I like what Garrett calls our family out there. What's the word that you use, Garrett?
The homies.
That's right.
Homies.
That's right. Come on out and get to know the land. That's the first thing and the best thing you can do. Because when you know the land, you know the changes and you know what's wrong.
It'll tell
Because
you.
you know how it's supposed to be. So come on out.
Mm,
Come find some joy. Come find some inspiration. Come connect. That's the first thing and the best thing you can do.
mm.
Garrett, tell me.
I think that connect word ought to always be capitalized. That important, because when people ask, you know, what do we do to protect the land? You know, if we really just stop and think about that question, like, and no disrespect, because everyone asks me multiple times a day, how can we protect the land? That might have to be the most unintelligent, question ever. Like, we know exactly how to protect the land. We don't have a protection problem. We don't have a science problem. We have a lack of heart problem.
Mm.
Only thing that needs to happen is that capital C connection, and we tap in. It's just like the movie Avatar. I swear to nature,
Mm.
it's exactly like. Have you ever seen the movie Avatar and they take their hair and plug it into the mother tree? It's like I could literally sit here and explain that to you in science with mycelium networks. It's real. But if you get out there and connect to the land, you'll know exactly how to protect it. The problem is we don't love it enough to protect it. In the end,
Mhm.
we'll conserve only what we love. We'll love only what we understand, and we'll understand only what we're taught.
That's totally amazing. Wow, that was like a poetry. Oh my God, you gave me no words.
Mine, it was like Aldo Leopold or someone, but yeah.
Guys, personally, I want to say,
Let me tell you about Garrett too. He's an amazing interpreter. Like you can go with him and walk the land. Like he gives amazing hikes. He gives amazing tours of the places that he loves.
Yeah, we'll
So
give you.
you want to connect? Go and call Garrett. Go on his hike. It's going to be life changing.
Garrett, let's tell to the people how we can follow you, how we can connect with you. Put me on the first lead, so I want to get connected with nature.
I'm all digitized. I've got myself a website. It's www.ecopreservationproject.com. I've also got an awesome Facebook page where I post a lot of educational videos. But yeah, sometimes I'm going to be the godfather of analogies. On my personal page just a bit ago, I was explaining the concept of masks and how if I'm standing with you and we're both not wearing pants and I pee on your leg's going to get all the pee, right? But if you're wearing pants, believe it or not, you're going to feel wet, but it's less pee. But if we're both wearing pants, hey, you don't really even get peed on. So sometimes you can just be fun with some analogies and stuff instead of getting in over your head trying to talk about nonsense.
Wear your masks.
Yeah.
Guys, I have another question that probably I got it in another social platform that we have. What do you guys think about when the people die, they can create a new tree with with everything that you got from your body? Tell me your thought about it. Do you think that this crazy that we can, grow up in a tree again, or maybe our soul it will be in the tree?
Can I speak on this one?
Of course, yes.
I think
You're the daddy.
I yeah. Well, people tell me I'm a single dad of nature. But on this very topic, it's insane how much money we spend on dying and how much pollution that money actually creates. And I mean, have you ever been to a cemetery? I mean, it's like, man, it looks real dead out there, right? See what I did just there? But no, really, it's boring, and it's depressing. It's like a city of the dead. What if through, when you die, like you even leave some of your land behind to go into a conservation easement? Imagine instead of cemeteries, they look like state parks, and you walk along a trail, and the dead are simply just trees with little plaques at the bottom that their family keeps maintained or puts, some tobacco ties on there. As their thing is. I mean, I think that would be incredible. Like, pop a seed in my mouth, let me be a live oak, and I'll be that first live oak to twist out and like throw out a big peace sign, smile or something. I think that would. It's a no brainer. Why do we cause pollution just to die? If I find out somebody went and mined metal to put me into the ground with those shafts and everything else, and on top of that, they release balloons in my arm, I'm going to come back and haunt you guys like no other.
Yes,
We
yes.
the simplest of things. It's like we've been walking down this hallway called life, and we're told to just do our best not to bounce off against the walls. And we walk through this entire life like a comatose June bug, just looking for light. And we're never questioning the source. Like, we talk about how we hate dictators, but we've never even thought of the idea of having more than one leader. I mean, really? You know, like never thought about like stopping pollution just for cemeteries. Like, it's really not as hard as you think. Like, say, planet, not that hard. That's why these kids are pull it off. Trust me. Like, I'm in the kid.
Actually, guys, let me read some of the comments that people are putting right now because this topic and everything that you guys are talking about, Native American and everything, is very, very important for our community. So we want to say thank you to Debbie, I think guys, Deb and Holly, because they are putting a lot of comments and says that they, especially Deb says that I'm going to be part of a coral reef when it cross over. Just come and visit me. Girl, I will.
Yeah.
Listen, honey, I was jumping on it. Houston, before to continue with the same topic that I just was talking with Garrett, let me remind you, coronavirus is being out there and COVID-19 is very, very crazy. So this time is not over. I want to encourage you to keep your mask on. Para nuestra comunidad latina, esto no se ha terminado, así que le queremos decir, por favor, que utilice sus máscaras cada vez que vaya a salir, utilice su antibacterial, lávese las manos y tenga toda la protección necesaria, no solo para usted, sino también para su familia. So, if you want to protect yourself, want to protect your family, your lovers, it's better you put your mask on before that you got to put your makeup and then put your mask on and wash your hands.
Mi amiga, una preguntita.
Yes.
Precaution en español, ¿cómo se dice?
Precaución.
Precaución es cariño. Precaución es cariño para la gente, para la comunidad. Precaución es cariño para la otra gente.
Claro que sí. So you see, if you take care of yourself, it's
Tengo que
because you
practicar mi
love
español.
yourself. Say that again.
Tengo que practicar mi español.
You see, here's another
Pero
way that you can practice your Spanish.
tenemos que comunicar nuestros amigos, nuestra comunidad. Es importante para aprender las lenguas porque tenemos poesía, tenemos filosofías y para mí es un honor para hablar español porque cuando hablo español tengo más amigos.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. Por eso quiero decirle a todos ustedes, miren el gran esfuerzo que está haciendo Houston con hablarles a ustedes en español. Los recomiendo para que lo visiten, para que conozcan muchas más de las cosas que él hace. So for my people in Spanish, I want to encourage you in visit and know and follow Houston Cypress. He's been doing a lot of things and also the father of the planet, the daddy, the superhero. He's going to teach us everything that you guys need to know. I know that we've been talking a lot really good stuff and really good conversation, but we only have only 8 minutes. And guys, I want before to finish, this is
Oh,
not over. Let me remind you again that this Wednesday, July 8th, honey, you better go on out early, 12 noon to Miami Beach Community Church until 2 p.m. or until everything shuts right now. So you better get on time. Thank you because this made possible celebrando Orgullo from 1 to the 15, 2020. And are you ready for another virtual Elevate summer camp next Thursday? Yes, this Thursday is just a few days, 7 p.m. on Facebook, interacting because it's free and fabulous. Go and check it out, unitycoalition.org for more information. En español, coaliciónunida.org. Ya saben, comida este miércoles, gracias a todos nuestros patrocinadores. Y antes de continuar, quiero decirte algo, Houston. Okay, yes. So the question was like, what do you think about when we die? Maybe what you want to be?
You know, I have an opportunity to participate in many worlds. I have Mikasuki world, I have the gay world, I have the art world, I have spiritual worlds. But like in Mikasuki world, like we have to be very careful talking about this subject, because it's a very special subject. In our community, we usually don't talk about this subject except in a very special situation. So if I offend anybody talking about this subject, I want to say I'm sorry because, we have to be very careful talking about when we go on into the next world because we do go on into the spirit world. But when I was growing up in the Everglades, I was taught that even though we have this body, the spirit continues. But, like maybe the body's going to go back to the earth. And so when we look at the trees around us, my uncles and my grandparents and everybody told me, you look at the tree, that's grandma, that's grandpa, like what they used to be. But their spirit continues. They go on into the next world. So when I hear about this putting the body into a tree, that seems like something so natural, something so beautiful, something that's a part of the circle of life. But again, like this is a very sensitive subject for people in my community, and I want to be respectful of that. So if I offend anybody, I want to say I'm sorry, but I'm trying my best to share beauty and truth.
So Houston, we want to say thank you so much for everything, your opinion, and we totally respect different communities and regulations. I totally is necessary that we have to follow rules for our community and just to keep sustainable, as you said. I want to share it with you guys this. Some of my friends told me before that when they die, they would like just to be thrown into the sea, in the ocean and everything. I personally, I before to say something, I would like to say again, we all respect. That's very good, opinion for someone that want to be, be thrown in the sea and or on the ocean. But personally, I think that we have to respect the planet, the water and, everything. When we say the land is just it's totally that something that is not like it's material. It's material. It's not like the water, because the water is the most treasure that we have. I think so. And just in the same way, I think that when we decide, what we want to do with our body as soon as it finish, sometimes we want to donate organs, and we save other life, and we are still continue helping the community, even that we don't know. But this is my part. My dream, maybe when I die, I would like just to be. Wow, that's very, 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 very different, but I want to be a tree, mango tree, like a Caribbean mango tree that everybody can taste me and sweet me. And,
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
you
you're gonna
know,
bring
I'm going to be the most
you're
juicy
gonna bring a
mango
smile to the
tree,
people.
honey. Mm-mm.
Like, reminds me of Samantha.
Yes, honey. Oh, this tastes like Samantha. This is delicious.
Yes, hey.
Okay, guys, just remind me when we can follow you on social media and Mr. Hero Planet. Remind me and tell me again, what's the website that we can more about you?
Eco Preservation Project is the name on the Facebook, and put the triple W's .com for the website.
Okay, okay. And Houston?
And like I have an opportunity to help out in a lot of places. I help out with Unity Coalition. It's an honor, but I also want to share the love, the Everglades movement. So follow us on Instagram, love_the_Everglades. You can also find us on Facebook, and we're trying to encourage people to inspire action for loving the Everglades and loving our connection to these places because they give us so much. So let's give back.
Exactly. That's what I want to be, a mango tree. Yes.
Yay.
Okay, so with this being said, I want to say, guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for being with us. And remember, this is not over. We have to keep our mask on and continue fighting our life, because if you love yourself, we love of you. So, Garrett and
I
Houston,
love
thank
you,
you so much.
Jared. I love you, Samantha.
And
Yeah.
thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for being with us. I hope to see you next time. And for all our followers, remember every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 4 p.m. here on a fan page on Facebook Live, and then 5 p.m. on Instagram and YouTube. Guys, I just want to say I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Samantha, and this is UCTV, where we have information, entertainment, and more for you. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Remember, food distribution this Wednesday.